medical marijuana is something that is,
I don't feel like stigmatizing medical
Right.
marijuana, because the plain fact is
Exactly.
people getting chemotherapy,
Right.
sometimes it's the
and
only thing.
that's kind of my issue with this, so we need to
Glaucoma.
be conscientious
Glaucoma,
about,
it's the only thing that works.
right. So I wanna be conscious of that, so I wouldn't wanna make it so restrictive that you can only put it like in the industrial zone, for example.
Well, you couldn't anyway, because the very fact that you have to be 1,000 feet from a home and all of that, on the one hand, it lends itself to even more of a rural area, because you gotta have the separation.
That's for the cultivation. Oh, no, in both, right. So maybe, maybe,
Wait a minute, of a public and private school, where's the thing about
the very first sentence, public private school, yeah, you're right.
500.
Okay. Okay, the cultivation facility should be, 500 feet for the houses.
is that really reasonable?
I don't know, I'm asking, I don't know what's reasonable for this. I mean, I'm not that familiar with these services.
Well, what it amounts to, if you say from a pre-existing private residence, you just eliminated the whole town, period.
Well, no, 500 feet, it'd be easy to be 500 feet from a residence.
Like, well, there's a couple of roads in town, yes.
Well, there's tons of places on Route 180 where you can easily do it.
Yeah.
Tons of places on Route 9 where you can do it. 500 feet is only
Yeah.
only almost 2 football fields. It's not very far.
Could do it on the Scott Point Road.
Yeah, probably have a tough time doing it on Scott Point Road. I don't think there's any place on Scott Point Road where you could do it. But 180, Route 9.
You gotta be careful what zone you're gonna limit it to, then.
Then you don't.
Then maybe you don't zone it.
You don't.
I wouldn't zone it, because
Well, actually, it would fall into whatever any of the other medical facilities, clinics fall into, because that would be considered the same, whatever a pharmacy or something.
Can you buzz into that? I don't have my notebook handy. Can you look in yours and see what we have for setbacks for the other places?
Well, nothing to setbacks, but what.
Not setback, what zones, what the definitions are for the.
That would be.
Or you have a copy of the maps, Andy? You don't know what they have.
Oh, which article is that now? You guys are
On that.
Maps.
It would be in Article 13.
So which GMA is it in?
Well, GMA 1 is village, B is enterprise, 2 is rural, 3 is rural preservation.
Let's go to map 2. Map 2 is GMA 1A and 1B. All right, maybe this one.
Uh, 13.4. Category 4 is what it would fit in.
Okay, hang on a second.
Yeah, it would be, I think it would fall into that. No?
So here's the colors. Here's the two, the rural and the rural preservation. So it would be this is the rural.
GMA 2.
Okay, see this?
Yeah.
This is
GMA 3 is rural preservation.
this is what we're talking about. So it would be in one of these places.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the road.
Here's Route 9. Here's 180. So see, there's a lot of places on 180 where it could be.
Under category 4, so no under 2 or 3.
Yeah, good point, on here. This is for offices and clinics, doctors. that speckled area. Here it is, better look, better colors. That's being one right there.
So I guess what we need to do then is either A, because obviously we don't wanna have, you know, if we wanna have a 500-foot setback from any of those buildings, it can't go there. If we can't call it a clinic or whatever, so what we need to do is enable doctor's offices or whatever to be outside of there, or create a category for it.
Now, the question is, at my first glance, I would classify it as an office and clinic.
Have we reviewed 13 yet? We haven't, have we?
No, we haven't.
We can always change some of these,
Right.
because it doesn't make sense to
What
put
are
all
you
this
supposed to
in
do
the
13 when the week I'm not here?
And the question there is, you know, we don't have an actual, like a pharmacy listed here anywhere. So what is a pharmacy most like? Is it more like a retail shop and store? Or is it, because this would be closest to a pharmacy.
How about institutional use?
Which category is that?
I think institutional is more like where they people
13
live.
Cemetery, churches, schools, museums, libraries,
13B, is institutional.
Group
I don't think
home,
it's
residential, healthcare facilities, clinics.
Okay.
Oh, and
Residential.
Yeah, that's where it should be, right there.
Wouldn't that be a counseling clinic?
Planning board.
what's it under?
Well, there's counseling clinic on category 4,
Which page is that on?
13.4, top.
Yeah, counselor,
I
therapist.
think that's your best, category.
That's the one we were looking at, right?
That's the one they were looking at first and said it wouldn't work there.
But
Well,
you
it's counseling clinic though, isn't it?
Well, I'm agreeing with you.
Except it's more, in a way, it's retail sales.
Hang on a second, just so I can explain it to Dave. Because when we were doing these, we made the presumption that we weren't thinking about this type of operation. So what we were trying to do is looking at where you had a lot of residential stuff and commingled things. So we thought that these types of businesses would be good pairings with other things like that. So what's going on now is these guys are looking at it and going, okay, well, it doesn't fit there. They're trying to see where else it could possibly fit without having to change where these are allowed. So that's why they hopped over here. But I mean, if you look at the text over here, I don't think I don't think the text matches. But this is a clinic, residential healthcare facilities. But this is like, I think if you're going to spend overnight, it's like nursing homes, daycare centers. I mean, even a clinic. I mean, I think this is like the implication with the institutional is that you're going to spend the night,
It's like a nurse, well, yeah,
Yeah.
or at least daycare.
yeah, okay.
We
So
should
we go
go
back
back
to
to
13.4.
But
Right. I think that Dave has it right. I mean, I think the thing to do here is to either decide that this is a special thing, okay, and give it its own category, just like we did with some of the other ones, and put it out in the rural area, okay, or not make it have to be 500 feet away from a residence. That's another option.
I'm not sure if that's what the town wants.
Well, I know, I'm just throwing options out there, okay? I'm not endorsing anything. So we make a special category so it can go out in the other areas. Change the requirement for this one so these can go anywhere.
Yeah,
That's another option.
well, instead of saying no, all we can do is put in the planning board.
Right, but then if you do that, you have to, the other.
Everything else would be allowed, yeah. also.
Right, so, again, without just jumping on it, just thinking it through a little bit, what was the reasoning? Paul, do you remember the reasoning for not allowing insurance agencies, realty, law offices and things like that out in the rural area? Did we have
I think what was discussed was being able to provide services like fire protection, the structural, the roads, trying to keep it in the village area.
right?
That's what we're talking about.
We're looking at page 13.4, right?
Yeah.
category 4.
And if they're just a little, or a low impact, they can be out there, right? Is that what I'm seeing, am I seeing that right?
No,
No,
we actually got ends in there. In
we
GMA
said
too.
no. So I was trying to remember why we said no in the first place, so that,
But
Well, she's talking about if it's.
for the
tier-
light one,
if
don't
it's
we have a
up
key in the
Oh.
top?
Yeah, tier 2 is
Tier two
planning
allow
board.
If you consider it a light impact.
They're gonna have no
True.
traffic, so they're not gonna be light
Yeah,
impact.
probably.
well, no, we could have been GMA2 with overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but then we said no for the professional.
Yeah, business office and clinic.
Right.
And I really don't think now that I'm thinking of it, that it fits in under offices and clinics. It's actually closer to like a pharmacy, which would be a retail type operation, which brings you back to category 1, which has the same restrictions. Frankly, I think this is so different than anything else, that just like adult businesses, it should be handled in that section of the ordinance, rather than trying to create a new category.
Yeah, I'd sooner put it in a category and just change the allowed use in the
But if you
GMA.
do that, you're gonna change it for everything else in that category.
Yeah, but what would define marijuana dispensary? Is it a larger, is it a larger retail store, or is it? The only issue is parking, right? Traffic?
My guess is under Article 12, you're gonna find that the traffic and things is gonna kick it out of tier 2, maybe not. That's a question, stay tier 2.
Well, we do provide counseling and stuff, I mean, but if we did make,
They don't supply counsel.
I don't know, I was under the impression that they did, but maybe they don't.
As to, do you want
It's more like-
Acapulco Gold or I don't know, Mexican bread?
If they bring in their
Spring
prescription,
Farm
it is, I
Market.
mean, it's like a drugstore, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like a
I mean,
drugstore.
if you get a prescription for it, then you go get your.
Well, true, it's also like retail, but like Bruce pointed out, even if you did that, it'd have the same restrictions.
All we would need to do is put in category 1, change tier 3 low impact from an N to a P.
Right, but then you're gonna allow those all over town, do you want those all over town?
Well,
Well, didn't somebody just say there could only be one?
Yes.
no, but we're, in the definition under these different categories, there are other businesses. If we change the allowed use of a particular business, it would mean all the other types of businesses would be allowed to,
I see.
in those areas.
May handle it as a special, it would be kind of special, I guess.
Well, if you're only gonna allow one, that's actually kind of a good point, that's actually an argument that would be in favor, if you're only gonna allow one, that would be an argument in making a special case for it. As opposed to trying to classify
Just
it.
like we did with the adult business, do it in that section of the ordinance,
True.
because it is another very special case, which is why it's got its own set of special rules.
So if you identified it as a special case and then went ahead and put its zoning allowance in the actual ordinance part and not in these tables,
I would say GMA 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because if you want the setbacks, you're not gonna get it in the village area.
Mhm.
In the village area, it's just too condensed with the lots.
right, so it's only gonna be allowed in GMA 1 or 2, right?
Yeah. If we follow and we just cut and paste brewers, because
No, not that we need to add insult to injury, but is that really a constitutional thing that you could limit something like this to one? If a second company came in and said, you're unconstitutional because you're not allowing free trade, can you do that?
well, Bangor's stopped theirs at 3.
Oh, really?
They have.
They just said one right there, they got that, that's part of their.
Right, but what if somebody came in and challenged you legally?
E-commerce.
Yeah.
And you can have more legal bills.
Probably just have to allow another one. It'd be the cheapest thing. It depends on how the first one's going.
I don't think we're gonna see, I don't it's a long ways to travel for.
I think it's a low risk. I think that we're gonna even get one.
They're gonna put them in areas where there's more folks.
Because those people don't wanna have to drive out of town.
I think there's only was 15
Would
licenses.
you
Then they
wanna
have
have
to-
it where there's bus service and things like that?
You're not supposed to smoke it on site, right? Or no, they do it on site.
About 2 minutes after they're in their car, worry about it.
Do you know how that works, Paul?
Access to public transportation, things like that.
That's what Hampton said, no smoking it on site.
No smoking on site?
And no consumption other than somebody who has a permit to get medical marijuana, somebody who has a reason to use it.
So we're not gonna let them do it on site.
Does that make, look at the, maybe that's in this one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look in a minute. So with GMA 1 or 2 only, you know, and,
Can I make a,
go ahead.
you may wanna, as far as zoning, you may wanna make a distinction between methadone clinics, marijuana dispensaries, and marijuana cultivation. You could have the marijuana cultivation in places that you wouldn't.
Well, true, the cultivation could occur in
Three.
through GMA 3 pretty easily.
Probably already is in January.
They forgot to apply for a license.
Just go to Lincoln. They got all kinds of them.
There's one just down Route 9, had thousands of acres. They're gonna go
That's
down.
great. It's just gonna turn over to the federal government.
Yeah.
I did read
Yeah.
Brewers, but Hamden says it's only
Yeah.
within a closed
I'll call you back in a little
building.
while.
So that again, Paul?
Yeah.
In Hamden's, cultivation is only within a closed building.
Okay.
That's the only way they do it. And I think that's part of the state law, which I meant to send you, which I didn't.
Yeah. That's all right, you know, so maybe that will keep that from happening. So maybe we don't have to have it in GMA 3, or maybe we do. So but Paul is right, maybe we should consider 3 different locations. I mean, I don't know, what do you think?
Doesn't bother me too much
Yeah,
either
no.
way.
Fine,
Yeah,
Keep them all in GMA 1 and 2?
yeah.
Yeah.
and where you wanna go.
Then if somebody wants to come and talk about it, they can petition us to put it in GMA 3 as well. Oops.
We'll have to put a clause in for grandfathering those that are out in 3 already, or just make sure they get their license within 12 months.
I can put up a greenhouse.
Was that the end of that one?
No, I screwed up and got fat finger syndrome.
This is all they did this down Fairfax, slept, he would come to your door.
What, for you to talk about it?
Oh, you don't have any of this in Virginia, at least up where I live.
If you don't have that, what do you have?
Well, nothing legal, I'll put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
I think DC's got methadone clinics and maybe Arlington County, Virginia.
Well, they don't let you have guns down there either, so.
I don't know, I'll tell you that.
I mean, Bangor in hindsight probably wishes that they had.
Guns, drugs,
A
alcohol.
lot of these people have actually moved right into the city, close to the premises now, so you have that whole population.
Well, Bangor,
Methadone in itself is an addiction.
well, Bangor's crying about what it's costing them to support those people.
Yeah.
So. No more than 1. Regular business hours,
Yeah.
signs, security.
Wasn't it Washington DC, you know, that recently is prosecuting the guy who had a used shotgun shell in his car?
Well, DC, yeah, DC is its own, they're very strict gun laws.
Then I said,
I want to know how the hell they saw a used shotgun shell.
They searched the guy's car for some reason, it was left over from a hunting trip, it was a used one,
No,
no.
it was a case, an empty case, and they're prosecuting it.
I didn't know.
This-
They didn't prosecute, what's his face, the journalist on TV.
Right,
Press,
right.
or,
That's because they did not prosecute him.
that's right, they did not, even though he had a
This is another paragraph on 7 that implies that you are able to use medical marijuana inside here, because it says that an employee can use medical marijuana inside the building on the licensed property.
But it's just,
That's because.
Why would you want to allow the employee to smoke it inside?
it might be on a prescription.
Safety test.
You might need it. You might need it during the day.
Get through. Keeps him employed. He has a happy day, I'm sure. Have a nice day.
They
Free
don't-
samples?
They don't let him run the cash register.
I don't know.
They're allowing their employees
Yeah.
to serve the public. I think that's probably not a good idea.
Just a new sign that doesn't say will work for food, but will work for pot.
Is there any?
At some point here, do we plug in the methadone clinics?
I don't know, I was,
Just add it right to everything else?
well, it wasn't before this, I'll go back to it in a minute.
Yeah, it was kind of short.
No, you know, this just seems like silly.
No food clinics.
I mean, this is definitely an opportunity to
Yeah.
sign findings.
Oh, the Girl Scouts set up, they're selling Girl Scout.
Not in
cookies.
Colorado, yeah, it's quite
Yeah,
effective.
they were making hay out there.
Are there any special security requirements to have these things?
Yeah, at least,
Oh, yeah. Alarms, police calls.
right there. Pit bulls.
AK
I would
47.
argue against having it in GMA 3 just because accessibility, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we're not gonna put it in GMA 3, we're gonna leave it in 1 and 2.
Say 1 or 2.
I mean, we laugh.
Even some areas of GMA 2 aren't that accessible.
Yeah, I know.
And that's why it's pretty long shot that we're ever gonna have to worry about it.
Unless they want to build a nice big.
They do it up
big
on
long
the
driveway. They can buy some property down in Chino Bar and put a long driveway to it.
Let me tell you, the alternative is not having this, somebody shows up and they wanna do it, and we have like nothing. I mean, I don't wanna be like that either.
Try to cut down the length a little bit if there's anything here that's sort of redundant or.
I think that's it. So anyway, the methadone part,
Three pages.
right there,
Yeah.
it's only that paragraph, that's it.
The Script joint's got more pages.
What is the number in the parentheses at the end?
You know what, I don't know what those mean, like, I meant to ask Linda that, she's out of town, but I don't know exactly what that means. They have them all over this ordinance.
Yeah, I noticed that.
What's that?
Well, one thing, it talks about total
Number
client
and
capacity. Do we want to have
Number one.
limitations on capacity or
Oh.
like how many patients they can have on site at any given time, or is that getting too?
Well, that right there limits it depending on how many square feet they've got.
Yeah. 15 square feet per person.
Let's
So does that say public
Let's just go find, hang on, let's go look at Article 8A real quick. Eight.
And the way it's numbered, can that be an 8? Maybe.
Well, I think there was an 8 in the article itself.
Yeah, but
That's out of the line.
there's some kind of a,
You might find it back in paper copies.
yeah, maybe.
There was some age,
Check the page art stuff right there. It was 8, what was it?
8A, I thought.
and so there was some letters in one of those 800 articles, so, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can look into it some more. Do you, I mean, but, oh, just,
I just.
what's your
bought it
general,
into
what's
the
your general sense?
I think that's adequate. Just plug it in.
Yeah, just to cut out some of the stuff that doesn't apply. I mean, we don't have a police department, so.
Right, right, it would have to be Topsail County Sheriff's Department, stuff like that.
We're talking about the medical marijuana or the,
Medical marijuana right now, I gotta ask some more about the methadone
yeah,
thing,
that's fine.
I'm not clear on that.
Yeah, I'd say adjust it to whatever you think.
Cultivation and dispensary. This is already.
You have like a look on your face, Paula.
Okay.
You have like a look.
I was just, what I saw there seemed very similar to what I remember from Hamden. I wish I'd reread it today, but I didn't, so it's a little stale in my mind.
Okay.
It seemed pretty much the same. I don't know whether it's based on something somebody else did or what.
What I'll do is I'll put it in as a starting point, and maybe, you know, if you think about anything else, somebody who takes an active interest in it, like I said, I think it's low risk. The other thing is maybe if somebody comes in during the public hearing process that makes some comments about it, we can certainly take input then too.
Well, if you put it out on the site, you might head block it, new medical marijuana.
Right.
Draw a lot of people.
Right, is right.
We're getting one.
That's not the message I'd like to send, we're preparing. Okay, the other thing, I mean, the other night, I also talked about the Article 2 and the interveners, and I had forgotten where I had put it. So I'll see, this drafts, I'm trying to keep these are just the current drafts. So in Article 2, try to formalize how that gets dealt with. There we go. Establishment of parties. That's pretty good. Establishment of parties right after you're talking about marijuana plants, right? So these are by law. You know, they're automatically formal parties. They're going to be obviously the applicant, the adjoining property owners, and any agencies for the state, DEP, or whatever other agencies may or may not be involved. You know, so those are automatically it. So then the next one after that is going to be, I made up a section for, and again, I took it from Vermont a lot. This is I define how to become an intervener. So demonstrate a substantial interest which may be affected by the outcome of the decision of the planning board, whether the applicant's interest will be adequately protected by other parties. So this is the applicant to be an intervener, not the applicant for the project. So like if group A was the, you know, X group of, you know, party A likers, okay, and then another group showed up and said we're the party A minus likers, okay, is the if you don't necessarily have to take the A minus likers to be the same as the, because their interest, after describing their interest, the A likers are maybe an adjoiner or they are already an intervener, so you don't have to take the A minus likers, you've already got the A likers. However, you know, if the Z likers showed up, okay, you would have to go after the letter Z group, because the letter Z group has a completely different set of interests than the letter A group. So those will be considered, you know, an additional intervener. That's kind of what that's all about.
Just so you don't have to.
So you don't have to have redundant
Yeah,
interveners.
just like at a public hearing, when
Right.
you're speaking to the, a topic.
Right, so that's what that actually means, so, and then whether alternative means exist by which the applicant's interests can be protected. So, that would be more similar to the other one. So like if basically by protecting the adjoiner, you're already basically gonna be protecting the person applying to be an intervener, then you don't have to add them into the interested group if they live like 4 towns away, whatever. So then, there's a thing called the board may at its sole discretion grant permissive intervener status to a party who only demonstrates substantial interest that may be affected by the outcome of the decision of the board after considering whether intervention will unduly delay the proceeding or prejudice the interests of existing parties on the board. So, again, I know this is a little bit laborious type of language. Again, I took it from Vermont, from their environmental process. So you can, if you feel, if there's not that many interveners anyway, and they do have a substantial interest that's affected by the outcome, and there's an adequate amount of time to go through the process, in other words, you're not gonna miss deadlines, then you can go ahead and allow them to become an intervener. So this gives you some discretion to enable interveners who might not normally be interveners. So it does give you some flexibility. And then after you grant an intervener, the board may restrict such parties' participation to only those issues in which the party has a demonstrated interest, and may require such party to join with other parties with respect to appearance by counsel, presentation of evidence, or other matters. So if you had a party that came up and they were interested in like the letters, A through E, then they said, oh, and by the way, while they're talking about A through E, we think that M, N, and O should be like this. They don't, you can tell them, no, you're only here representing A through E, and there's another group representing M through O. We don't really care how you feel about M, N, and O, because there's an M, N, and O group that's already representing the interests of M, N, and O. That's kind of what that means. I mean, if you go through and you read, I've read a couple different court cases and stuff like that, and if you're interested in it, I can maybe give you some links for that when I was trying to develop this, but what I was trying to do, because I know that we had a lot of issues, just like with when we can take documents and all that stuff, with the structure of some of these meetings and who were interested parties and not interested parties and all this other stuff. What I was trying to do was to provide opportunity to have some structure for it so that it was transparent and it was consistent and it wasn't haphazard.
Excuse me, sir, I'm leaving for tonight. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
I wish I could get back to you.
Take care. I mean, I could just delete the whole thing and we can just keep going the way we were. It's just I think like we would be able to see through some of this again in the future only because we dealt with it. But, if we're not on the board, in 2 or 3 years from now, somebody's confronted with some stuff and they haven't dealt with it before, because it's not like we have like lawyers here on the board and stuff like that. I was just trying to give them a chance to figure it out.
Looks good to me.
You guys were partial interveners. Paula, when you were coming in last time with the task force, do you think that stuff like this would have been more helpful?
I have not read that.
Okay, I
Is
didn't know.
it something
I would say,
you just put up?
putting a methadone clinic
Yeah,
or
I
something like
haven't
that, there may be some issues.
Right.
That might prompt,
Prompt discussion about this
Yeah.
stuff. Just trying to make sure everybody could be clear who the parties were.
I'll read it, but my initial reaction when you're using legal terms is, oh my God. We're gonna,
But it's a proven process in Vermont, so I figured it would be useful.
Unless we get some other comments, we can leave it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can
but you
see an
get too
interview
legal,
now.
you're gonna be having to take sworn testimony. It's,
It could be done.
I can see an intervener on the medical marijuana facility now. He says, I'm selling dope out of my house, you know, what are you gonna put this in?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So what was the sense on, do we even want to entertain the idea of commercial facilities in this, or just bypass that for the moment?
Commercial facilities, what?
Just regular, in case they make it legal to sell marijuana in Maine.
Oh, I wouldn't even, not.
Yeah, I think you should add it in, because what's gonna happen is the medical marijuana place is gonna want to just expand to commercial. If they
We could
make
just
it
say,
legal,
we could just make a comment in there, well, that's actually a good point, what we could do in there is say, expansion to commercial will require additional permits, or something like that.
Some kind of
We could put a wiggle word in that, just to, because you know what, I didn't really think of that, I was thinking of,
You have some
brand new
medical
place.
marijuana where they've got a prescription, if they make it legal, it's like, why can't they, you know, they'll just start selling it. And the way things are going across the country, you know, I don't think it's that far off.
If they legalize marijuana in the state, it'll be a state-run operation, just like the liquor stores used to be. So they can get the profit and taxes.
figure out how that Ted's overlooked it. I guess they're just ignoring it because it's against the law.
But they
I'm
just-
not even freaking
Well,
banking.
I mean, we've got our Chum gang as the,
Okay. So that was, I just wanted you to be aware that I did it. If you can go in and read through that, it would be great. All right, so now, come back over here to the 14 stuff. Oh, you know what?
We're gonna answer
Well, no, the 6, or the question stuff. Hang on, I have one more quick thing here under Article 6.
what have you
See,
been,
look at that, draft 3. I made the changes that you recommended in there. I'm looking for like some little. Other things in comments. All right, I took care of that. So I answered that yes. Okay. Oh yeah, look, we had soil scientists. This is a licensed site evaluator. I can't believe I let that slip by 2 revisions now. Site evaluators are the ones who do for septic systems, not soil scientists. So I changed that in there so they have the right professional license. Okay. So under I wrote down here in the standards for this comprehensive impact statement, I added this detail. Applicant should provide the board with written data analysis relevant to the proposed project in sufficient detail for the board to ascertain the potential impact of the project may be, what the potential impact of the project may be on the development site, adjoining land, and the community at large. There's a couple different times, you know, we didn't just talk about adjacent properties, we talked about transportation, tax, jobs, etc. So I added that in there. Okay, and I deleted that just like we talked about, and I wrote the comment in there that the deleted text would inappropriately negate the opportunity for a design build firm or the developer to write the statement. The object is to write in a neutral voice, not force the author to be neutral. Because this is where we said that it had to be written by a third party or whatever, and so basically you get into a point where somebody brought up that would mean a design build engineer couldn't write this report.
well, yeah, I brought it up, but what it is, very often, if you have to have an engineer do part of this, very often it's the engineering firm that's going to get the work for you.
Well, no, I'm agreeing with you. So, I mean, or like we said, a savvy developer could write this himself
Right.
or herself. So, we just wanted, the objective was to write it in a neutral voice. So this has seemed to be more reasonable, so that's why I put it out, that's how I justified it. So we can explain it later. Okay, right, I think that was already addressed. I just tried to, on this whole vesting rights thing. Vesting with the town means the applicant will undergo project review, zoning rules, permits issued or applied for in adjoining property state based on the ordinance in place on the date of vesting. Vesting by the municipality may or may not affect the rules or regulations implemented by the state or federal government during the review period. And I just tried to crystallize it, because there was some discussion about what that meant the other night, so I didn't write everything down that you were saying, but I tried to remember when I went home and worked on it right away and tried to pull it together.
I think that's close enough.
And then also there's this part about whether the planning board approved it or whatever, so then that's what I changed down here. If the request is approved by the planning board, the project will be vested based on the date of receipt of the intent to file letter to the town for a period of 120 days, during which time the applicant must provide a completed site plan application with submission requirements, any waiver requests, and accompanying additional fees for review. The board must then deem the application complete by a vote within the 120-day period. And then if they don't get it in, then it's going to be whatever it is. So that was that. And I don't think there's really anything else. I'm still not completely happy with how I'm working out the requirements for site plan and subdivision review. I'm trying here. So then I try to put in here stuff like, okay, we're on the like lot numbers, applies to subdivisions only. Permanent markers, applies to subdivisions only. And I tried to tease that stuff out. Lot frontage. I mean, on a site plan, there's not as much lot frontage criticality, as other things, and that's only applies for projects where the public access is presumed or required. So, if you're going to put in oil tanks or whatever, where there wasn't going to be a lot of public access in and out, you wouldn't necessarily have to have, a big wide lot frontage like you would for like a gas station, as an example. So anyway, I'm not completely finished with that, but I put some effort into it, and I think it's fairly close. And that was okay. I think we've already addressed that stuff. All right. So there's that.